Well, it's a lovely, calm evening, lovely, calm spring evening, chilly, but the sea is benign in total contrast to the dreadful conditions at the weekend just 72 hours ago, when raging seas and a strong northeasterly wind put 13 properties on the cliff top there in grave jeopardy of falling into the sea. Well, those properties are now empty, and the inevitable will surely happen perhaps as soon as the next few days. Now, this is a village well used to the ravages of the sea, but even by Hemsby standards, what happened at the weekend was quite exceptional. And if we just take a look down here, at the weekend, those concrete blocks were actually level with the boardwalk here, but 10 foot of beach was swept away. It might be for sale, but nobody's going to want to buy this seaside property. It may only have days left before it plunges into the sea. One of 13 chalets abandoned by their owners after a weekend of severe storms eroded the sandy cliffs at Hemsby. Devastating for them, but nothing new for those who've lived and worked in the village most of their lives. They told me how they'd seen parts of the village gradually disappear into the sea over the years. Kenny Cheney, remembering how the concrete pillbox, now well into the sea, was once a feature of the beach.
It is now on the edge of the hills there. We've lost about 150, 200 metres of beach in as last 50 years. That's how much is gone.
Jack Bensley's thoughts are for those forced to move out because it's no longer safe here.
They're losing their homes. That's unbelievable for them. You can't believe how they must feel, really.
Peter Rossi came to England from Italy in the 60s and began selling ice cream on Hemsby Beach in 1972.
Very different, lot of people, and there was a beach everywhere. Fantastic.
And now?
Now it's terrible.
In the beach cafe, James Bensley and his brother Oliver have opened up specially to cater for those caught up in the crisis. As a councillor, he'll be involved in asking local people where the village goes from here. Whatever solution will be expensive.
We can quickly act now, but will it be worth it? Will it be right? We don't know. But this is what hopefully this survey and consultation will take place, and we'll be able to access and gain knowledge from that. But most of all, the most important thing is human life. And thankfully, touch wood, we're all okay with that. We've all been saved.
What's happened here has put the local independent lifeboat station out of operation. The slipway's gone, so the boat can't launch.
We've now got Easter approaching, and we're going to have a lot of holiday makers down here. So my priority now is to get that boat back on service. You know, it's not just that, we've got the local trade up here as well. If we're getting members of the public and holiday makers now coming down here and seeing the state of this beach, are they going to return?
Although the weather today has been much calmer, it's only a matter of time before another significant part of Hemsby disappears forever.
So that is the picture in Hemsby today. Anger and frustration once again from the local council, who feel they aren't getting the answers or the help they need. And we'll hear live from the chairman of Hemsby Parish Council, Keith Kyriakou, in a moment to get his thoughts on the Conservative response.
Well, for a second day, our request for an interview with local MP Brandon Lewis was declined. But the Conservative National Head of Local Finance and Chair of District Councils, John Fuller, did speak to us and gave his reaction to how Hemsby was being handled.
Well, it's difficult. In a situation like this, the professionals, the paid professionals, whether they be the Coast Guard, the police, the health service, whatever, environment agency, they're the guys on the heavy money. They need to take control. And actually, it's not the role of politicians necessarily to interfere with those with the letters after their name who know what they're doing.
So there's confusion then?
I don't think so.
Well, you say that, but the Environment Agency very firmly say it is not our responsibility, it's the council's responsibility.
In circumstances like this, you have what is known as a gold command, and then collectively, all the agencies of the state work together to best effect. And it starts...
That's not happening, is it?
Well, I don't think we can say that.
Right.
There is a role for politicians, and I think the council and the lead councillors have been really doing a fantastic job. Sometimes, of course, whilst it's nice to be on the site, you can be most effective working more remotely. And I do know that the local MP, Brandon Lewis, who's got quite a lot on his plate at the moment, I spoke to him the other day, he's doing a lot behind the scenes to enable and to give those people who are on the spot the space to do what is necessary.
As far as the council is concerned, they have said all we want is clear guidance from the Environment Agency. Tell us, are you going to at any stage defend the coastline, or not? How do we finance this in that case? Going forward, how is this actually all financed?
Well, at the moment, I mean, there's a perfect storm, literally, in local government finance. Demand is going up for services, not least because we're all living longer and it's getting worse. The amount of support we're getting from central government is reducing, and inflationary pressures are high as well. The government is changing the way that councils are financed, not just to deal with pressures in adult social care, but the formula, when it is announced later this year, is going to have to absolutely take into account things that affect Hemsby, for example. Coastal defence is clearly a driver of service demand. It drives need. Flood defences. It isn't just about deprivation, although deprivation is important. There are certain environmental factors that must be taken into account so that in future the resources are there to deal in advance with things like Hemsby and other communities in this country.
How confident are you that will happen, that it will be joined up?
Well, I'm chairing the committee in London that is seeking to try and draw these strands together. And I'm very confident that we're going to get a system that is somewhat more simple than it is at the moment, but not so simplistic that it glosses over the fine grain of things which really derive that people value. Coastal defences, potholes, all sorts of things.
And we can learn from Hemsby and then, as you say, apply that to wherever in the region, not just on coastal erosion, but also, as you say,
it's a lesson that has to be said, because where we look at Hemsby, in the southwest a few years ago, they had the floods in the Somerset levels. These things have a habit of coming round, and just saying it's once every 60 years, I'm afraid, isn't good enough.
John Fuller, thank you very much indeed for coming in.
So those are the thoughts of Councillor John Fuller. Malcolm, what's likely to be the reaction to that in Hemsby tonight?
Well, the people of Hemsby are well used to the risks from the sea, but let me bring in Keith Kiriaka, who's the chairman of the parish council. Now, you listened to John Fuller's interview. I took it that there isn't going to be any money to protect Hemsby. What was your reading of it?
Well, I'm afraid that's a typical politician. You know, he wants to pass the buck. There must be plenty of money to help us. I mean, we give enough money in rates, etc., etc. We've got a holiday industry here, so we give up more than our fair share. We just need help down here. And I'm sorry, he's just passing the buck. I mean, our local councillors were brilliant here this weekend. You know, I can't see why we haven't got any money to do it.
But is it maybe not the case that you just have to accept that there are parts of the Norfolk coastline that you actually let the sea take its course?
No, again, I don't agree with that, because of the tourism that we've got in Hemsby and the bed spaces we have in Hemsby, and we also have normal parishioners in Hemsby. You know, you've got to look after those people. We need sea defences. We need something done here now. I mean, this happened 6 years ago and they're still talking about it. Come on, muck in and get the job done. Help us out, please. We need it.
Now, your MP is Brandon Lewis. We heard there that he is busy at the moment. He hasn't been here so far. Some people say he should have been. He's here at the weekend. What do you think?
Again, our local MP, Brandon Lewis, should have been here at the weekend. He should have shown his face, because our local councillors were here. We all gave up a lot of time this weekend, and he should have just made that little bit more of an effort, showed his face so we could look up to him and say, you know, help us, please. We need it.
OK, thank you very much indeed for joining us. So that tonight is the situation in Hemsby, those 13 properties in grave danger of falling into the sea. And the fear is that there are other properties slightly behind that line who are also at risk sometime in the future.